Hey all. So I know I'm a bit late in getting this one out. This last weekend was actually my birthday, and so I just did a bit less work than normal. But here we have War 7 of the season, and it's a pretty fun one. So right away we start out with Captain America against this Annihilus, and honestly, that surprised me right there. I feel like I've been told about this interaction before, but I'd forgotten about it. Because, like, I know that Annihilus loses his rod when you try to nullify him, right? And I also know that because armor breaks are in the game code, a nullify, that would do it. But we don't have a cosmic character on the team. He's still losing the rod when we hit him with the heavy, and I think it's because it's checking to nullify an unstoppable, which is weird because there is no unstoppable active, but I'm not complaining about it. I mean, it doesn't really matter because we're getting around the obliterating strikes with the House of X pre-fight either way, but that was just kind of an interesting interaction that came up and didn't really change the outcome of the fight at all. Very, very simple fight when you can use House of X there. And then there I meant pre-fight, but here I actually mean using House of X. He is really one of my absolute favorite counters to Jabari. You can use others, of course. You'll see Apocalypse, Omega Red, plenty of other mutants here. Storm Pyramid X is another one I really like against her. But one thing that is sometimes forgotten is that gaining Prowess reduces Jabari's Huntress charges. And because of this, even if she throws the special one, even if she purifies a debuff, none of that really matters. She's not going to go into the hunt, which is usually the scariest part of any fight against her, because every time you gain prowess, she loses charges. And you did see that happen a little bit earlier. Additionally, House of X has class advantage, can safely and reliably knock her down, and so there is just nothing about this fight that is scary. I absolutely love that counter, even with him at relatively low charges, and it gives us, like, that pre-fight refunds itself. Often people will use that pre-fight against Jabari to make her a little bit easier to use, but it's basically a free use when you take her with House of X himself, because he's so good for it, and you get the 2 charges back. So then Doom here, this one's going to be a little trickier than Annihilus, because while Cap is a great Doom counter if you have a tech on the team, that requires a Petrify to stick, and that's just not going to be super reliable here, because we are going to be knocking Doom down to get the protection off. When we do that, he goes debuff immune, and so even if I had a tech on the team, we wouldn't be keeping that protection up, and so he would be activating his aura. That's fine, it just means that we need to be ready for that and stick to short combos. We're basically just trying to keep our kinetic potential high while while we're waiting for that to turn off. Now, it would have been nice to land a special 2 there, but it's not really a big deal that he threw the aura again and we didn't line up that window, because a special 2 against Doom is not going to crit anyway. And so there's really no harm in throwing that heavy right there, knocking him down, getting both Furies active, and then throwing this special 3 instead. I think that's actually the better way to approach this fight overall. And then if we had been using Power Back, we would have gotten a decent chunk there. I do kind of the medium careful evade for his special 2, where I block the first hit and then dex out. I'm pretty comfortable with the full evade when I need to do it, and have been getting more comfortable thanks to Battlegrounds. But here we have enough health to play with, and I really do not want to get smacked in the face with a full special 2, and so I did it that way, and I think I just blocked the full thing here. Yeah. I forget, honestly, at this point, whether I tried to dex out of it and it didn't let me or not, but it doesn't matter. Because the point is, the fight is almost over, and we just want to play it safe and not snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, so to speak. Easy come, easy go. I believe that's a rank 4 Doom down. I'm honestly not going to go back to check. And then we move on to this Mojo. just not really a danger for any Defiance champion almost anywhere this season. That's all there really is to it. Now, he can be a jerk because he's Mojo. His prompts can get annoying. That can still give him the Fury, even though it doesn't degen you. If you get hit with a special 2 or a special 3, it can still absolutely kill you. And if he doesn't throw his special 1, he can back you up. Like, there are still things you have to think about in this fight. But because you don't have to worry about playing around the prompts to the extent of, uh-oh, now I got a hater buff on me and I'm just dead, you really don't have to worry that much. I could have taken this with Cap, but I'm using Killmonger less this war overall. It's a rank 4 Killmonger, so he's great for this. And I think this is just going to save me more potions in the long run. They are both Defiance, and besides, I have those indestructible charges to make the special 2 that much easier to deal with, without having to worry about whether they're parries or not, like I might against Cap. And this is just a very, very simple fight. We could go for the special 3 here. We already have the 15 bleeds. On a rank 4, this probably kills him from here at this point, especially if we make sure to have True Strike and Reverb up. But because he is being kind of stingy, like I said was one of the risks earlier, instead of going for the special 3, I am going to go for the special 2 again. Like, I'm not going to tank a special 3 with it, right? Because that still puts degen on you, and that's way more dangerous than the actual hit damage. But this does let me just have a little bit more to play with in baiting out his special 2s. Now, I shouldn't have dashed in there because I wasn't 100% sure that was going to work, and so I just should have not done that. But still, handled the special 2 fine. We've barely lost any health. It's about 2 minutes. This is not the fastest power snack fight by any means, but just super, super safe. So there we go. I think I block one more hit, and I think this special 2 does it. Yeah, plenty. Alright, so power snack down. Definitely just one of the weaker nodes on the map this season because of the existence of the Defiance tag. And we move on to Korg. Now, I'm not going to say that this is the best counter to Korg. I think that Omega Red, Apocalypse, like, I do think that there are better counters here. But you see me thinking about whether I want to use the pre-fight or not, because I could probably get through this fight without it. But just so we don't have to worry about the Purify, I go ahead and use the Guidance here. Again, as with Jabari, that is a pre-fight that you would often use against Korg, even if you were taking him with somebody else, just to make matters simpler. So it's quite nice that it just lines up for Magneto himself to take this fight. Now, because this puts us all the way down at 0 charges, we will not gain prowess just from landing combos. And so we will have to make a point to land a few more heavies. But that's just not an issue at all, because all of our basics deal energy damage, and so there's just nothing Korg can do. He doesn't have to worry about his stuns. It's basically just going to be, after we hit him enough, although there's that he can do if I overtrust those 3 hits. Funnily enough, I just must have been slow on that combo, because all of the rest of these land fine. But, oh well. So what I was saying is the primary risk of this fight is going to be if he's really stingy with throwing his special 2, and then he gains a lot of prowess. We can't get all of them off. He finally throws the special 2, but after we dex a couple times, so he has several of those charges, and then he gets right back up to a special 1 quickly and throws it before we've gotten rid of all the prowess. You can see I'm kind of worrying about that here, which is maybe causing me to be a little bit risky, because the special 1 would be unblockable right now. But if we throw this here, we've gotten the shield down again. It's okay, we can take a little bit, but we're trying to block as much as we can until we get either some of those prowess off, or for the orange charges, I'm forgetting what they're called right now, to go away, so that we just have a little bit more control over the fight. So now we're good again. That may happen again when he gets to his special 2, we'll see. But we got our nice long cruelty from the special 3. Korg does have some crit resistance, so extra crit damage is not the most useful thing in the world, but if any get through, it will help us. So I personally do like going for the special 3, especially because Korg is bleed immune, and so going for the special 2 isn't really going to help us anyway. One way or another, not the fastest fight, but this is going to come down. And then I don't believe I'm using House of X again, so basically any amount of health we lose, as long as it doesn't start becoming a real risk of us losing the fight, is acceptable. Because then we basically got a free pre-fight out of it by using him. Like I said, we get those 2 charges back, we can use another one. And so this is worth the extra time in any war where you're not really coming down to the wire and are worried about a tiebreaker. Man, that crit resistance is so annoying. Finally one at the end there. That always seems to be how it goes, isn't it? Anyway, Korg down, pre-fight back, fast forwarding ahead to the second part of the war where I take this Claire here, and I'm just calling ahead of time. There's an interaction here that surprised me. Because I know that Claire gains charges whenever you're immune to something. I also know that there is some overlap between immunity and purify mechanics, because if you're using Apocalypse against somebody like Bishop, and you go immune to something, then it counts as a purify and Bishop punishes you for it. What I didn't realize was that it would also that a purify going the other way would count as an immunity for Claire's abilities, which is how she ended up gaining more power than I was ready for right here. And then now we're just trying to stay away from her. She's throwing these heavies. I mean, this is now in the danger zone here. Thankfully, she's at 20 charges. She's not gaining any more. But the problem is that she's unblockable, and there's my first dex fail. Like, you just know that's going to happen. I probably just should have thrown the special 3 right there, because it would have allowed me another chance at purifying, and I just should have waited out her special, but... Yep, I got backed up, I got flustered at the control failing me there, and I died. So I do think that that fight is doable, but it is so much scarier than I thought it was going to be, because I didn't realize that she was going to gain all of those charges every time she threw her special 3, as though I had brought a true bleed immune-like thing. That was just not on my radar at all, or I would have been playing much slower at the start of the fight and only doing like parry light, to make sure that I really had as many kinetic charges as possible to avoid that whole thing. I do think the fight is very winnable if you do that, but I was just not ready. Alright, so we have Invisible Woman here, and so she is probably going to be unblockable for this entire fight, because as soon as we hit her twice to try and get her shield down, she's going to go up to that, and then we'll never get the heal block off. I knew that going in. That's fine. That is why I use the Indestructible. I'm normally very comfortable with my step backs against her. I've been using Killmonger against Invisible Woman for a long time. We have the Indestructible charges from the Special 2. We're nailing the Special 1 dex, which historically I have sometimes had some trouble with when it's fully unblockable, because there's just basically no wind-up time to it. But we're doing okay here. I think... Oh, yeah, I forgot that I threw that into it. So thankfully we had the Indestructible charges, so that wasn't much worse. But still a very good counter. I'm so happy Killmonger is rank 4. Just makes fights like that safe even if you mess up, and I love that about him. So then we move on to Spider-Ham, and this is, more than anything else, the real reason I have Killmonger and not some other skill champion on the team, because I just love the Killmonger versus Spider-Ham fight. Not when he catches me in the middle of a combo there while I'm trying to dash back. I definitely don't love that. But now that we've pushed him over a bar, this is just going to feel great from here on out. So we gain a ton of power from that taunt. I should have just thrown it, the special right there. That's on me. I think I was maybe hoping he'd come in and I'd get an intercept there, because that's what we do here. Then we have the taunt again, but basically we're just trying to keep his spider nonsense low, not because we're worried about the evade, because we should be staying on top of the rhythm of the fight enough that's just not a concern, but more because it's reducing the damage our specials are doing, which even though Killmonger is not built to rely on his special attacks, every little bit of damage counts, and so throwing those special ones on the earlier side is just a good idea. Especially because they are the ones we're going to be throwing anyway, because we want those counterpunch charges to get credit for the intercepts. So if we're going to be throwing that special anyway, we might as well throw it nice and early. He's loving these full combos today. We do lose the armor up there, but that doesn't really matter with Killmonger, because as soon as you land the hit with crumbling armor, you get it right back. And the funny thing is that even if Reverberation is on cooldown when the armor break hits, as soon as it comes back and you remove the armor break, it's not on cooldown anymore. So short duration armor breaks can actually help Killmonger more than they hurt him, funnily enough. Anyway, very simple fight there once it gets rolling, and I actually skipped a fight. I know I almost never do that. I always show you guys this every fight, even if it goes poorly. But that's just because the one in between this was me timing out to a fight that I shouldn't have taken, and you don't need to see that. So I'll explain that in a second, but first let me just say we have this Longshot here on Conflictor. This can be a very difficult fight for basically anybody but Cap. And he can still have a tough time with it if you don't carefully choose his team to not bring along the characters that place debuffs on the opponent. If you have a Science, a Tech, or a Cosmic on the team, this gets a lot harder. But because we're playing around the Deja Vu node, he's not gaining Prowess, we have plenty of kinetic potential, and we're not applying any debuffs, this is going really, really well. So it's just, as long as you have that and you don't get hit by a big special 2, or you don't push him into Pure of Heart so that then he can throw the special 2 and incinerate you without hitting you, you're fine. Now, to talk about the fight that I skipped, it was the scroll on 48 before this, and I made the mistake of taking it with Cap. And I was just thinking like, oh, cool, he has the Purify as long as I have the skill on the team, so I'll be able to Purify the Falter. He has Defiance, so we don't have to worry about that. But I had forgotten, and this is the reason I chose not to put the fight in, I had forgotten that last season I tried, or no, in the off-season, I tried taking that fight with Reed, and I timed out with him despite the fact that he's reversing willpower. And so if that happened with Reed, or maybe I almost timed out, I forget what it was. Either way, it was not fun. But if that didn't go well, then Cap, at a rank lower, and without the ability to apply a bunch of petrifies and control willpower, was just not going to get through the armor. I could have done better if I had been throwing special ones sooner and getting those bleeds in, but ultimately it was just a bad matchup. I should have called in somebody else to do it, and I'm glad we had a big lead. Because, like I said, we did want to start winning some wars this season. We did win this one, finally, so nice to have that happen, and, you know, I'm just glad that everyone has been trying their best even without the most gung-ho of planning. It's a weird line to walk to, like, kind of be trying in war, but not fully. And I just really appreciate the battle group and the Alliance as a whole for rolling with it and finding that balance. And I'm glad we won one, because this has been a really nice break for us officers. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one. I will go ahead and be coming out with the other one from this weekend right away tomorrow, so look out for that. But until then, thanks so much for watching, and take care.